From incendiary shotgun shells to hyper magnum rifle rounds, the bullets on this list are chosen for their extreme power and destructive effects. Number 7. Macho Gaucho Bolo rounds. Macho Gaucho bolus shotgun shells are a modern take on the Argentine Gaucho's bolus weapon. These 12-gauge rounds fire 2 lead slugs tied together by a steel cable. When the trigger's pulled, both slugs travel in tandem, and the cable causes them to spin wildly in flight. In effect, the projectile mimics a bolo. The dual slugs whirl and twirl, delivering 2 impacts instead of 1. The slugs are typically large, around 30 calibers each, and made of lead. Steel wire ensures that after firing, the twin slugs stay connected, spreading out unpredictable wound channels or even wrapping around a target's limbs. This exotic round is marketed for devastating your target at close range. In practice, the 2-ball setup increases the chance of striking a target, 2 projectiles instead of 1, and can inflict 2 simultaneous wounds. However, accuracy suffers over distance. The wire causes chaotic flight, so effective range is quite short. There's no known military use. These rounds are novelty or self-defense ammo. Some shooters have tested them on gelatin and found the dual impacts can shred through soft tissue. Number 6. Dragon's Breath. At number 6 is the notorious Dragon's Breath shotgun round. Technically a 12-gauge incendiary shell, it contains hundreds of magnesium pellets instead of conventional shot. When fired, these pellets ignite and shoot out a flaming spray from the muzzle. In other words, the gun briefly becomes a short-range flamethrower. Tests show Dragon's Breath flames can extend on the order of 30 meters, about 100 feet or more. Temperatures in that jet of fire reach 3,000 to 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit, about 1,650 to 2,200 degrees Celsius. In practical terms, a shotgun loaded with Dragon's Breath can ignite wood, paper, or even trigger secondary fires at its maximum range. Beyond the visual spectacle, Dragon's Breath does less penetrating damage than a normal slug. Its lethality comes from fire and heat. The incendiary metal shards can start severe burns or engulf a target in flames. In fact, one manufacturer warns the round produces a wall of fire when shot up to 50 feet and burns at over 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Caution to use extreme caution. There's no real combat use for this round. It's essentially a novelty or for special effects, but it absolutely carries a fire hazard. It's caused wildfires when used carelessly. Because of the risk, Dragon's Breath shells are illegal in many jurisdictions. U.S. retailers note they cannot be shipped to states like California, New York, Illinois, and a few others. In sum, Dragon's Breath is deadly mainly for its incendiary effect. It doesn't fly as far or as hard as normal shot, but when it does fly, it delivers a burst of lethal flame. Number 5. Hollow point bullets. Hollow point ammunition's not exotic, but its wound effects earn it a spot on this list. A hollow point bullet has a concave tip that causes the bullet to expand or mushroom on impact. This expansion can double the bullet's diameter and shatter it into fragments, creating massive internal trauma. And as one ballistic analysis notes, expanding rounds, hollow point or soft point designs, are used by police and hunters specifically because they transfer more or all of the projectile's energy into the target and create a larger wound. In practice, a hollow point bullet exiting flesh tends to push out clots of tissue or even leave chunks of metal in the wound, causing gaping lacerations. Technically, hollow points come in many calibers. A typical 9x19mm hollow point, say 124 to 147 grains at 350 to 400 meters per second, delivers on the order of 300 to 600 joules of energy to the body. A 45 ACP hollow point, 230 grains at 260 meters per second, delivers roughly 500 joules. In contrast to Full Metal Jacket FMJ bullets that overpenetrate, hollow points slow and dump all energy quickly, often after just 10 to 20 centimeters of penetration. Number 4. 50 BMG, 12.7 x 99mm. 50 Browning machine gun round is a legendary heavy cartridge. It fires a 5.10 caliber bullet weighing about 600 to 750 grains, around 43 to 48 grams at extremely high velocity, roughly 2,800 to 3,800 feet per second. For example, Barrett's standard 50 BMG ball load is a 661 grain bullet at 2,800 feet per second. This produces on the order of 10,000 to 13,000 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, roughly 13,500 to 18,000 joules depending on the load. These are numbers more typical of small cannons than pistols. The result is devastating power and range. In the field, 50 BMG is used in anti-material rifles and heavy machine guns to shoot down light vehicles, helicopters, or fortified positions. A standard M33 ball bullet can penetrate engine blocks, brick walls, or light armor. Even without exotic variants, a 50 BMG round can kill or maim at extreme distances. Skilled snipers have used the 50 BMG to hit targets well over a mile away. Its recoil and weight make it a heavy hitter. Firing a 50 BMG rifle can knock the shooter off balance. Despite this, it's prized for its knockdown power. In terms of ballistic numbers, Barrett sights a 661 grain projectile at 2,800 feet per second, translating to about 13,323 feet-pound of energy. There's no special legal ban on 50 ammo. It's ordinary kinetic ammo, but its civilian use is heavily regulated due to power. Today it's widely used by militaries and special police teams. In summary, 50 BMG ranks among the deadliest simply due to raw kinetic force and range. Few rounds can punch so far through armor or deliver so much energy. The 50 BMG can literally put a helicopter or light vehicle out of action with a single well-placed shot. If you're enjoying this breakdown of deadly ammunition, hit subscribe now for more in-depth weapon analysis. Number 3, RIP, radically invasive projectile rounds. At number 3 are the RIP self-defense bullets. RIP stands for radically invasive projectile. Unlike conventional hollow points, these are CNC machined solid copper projectiles with engineered weak points. For example, the 9mm RIP round uses a 96 grain copper bullet with pre-cut trocars, petal-like shards, and a thick base. Fired at about 1,265 feet per second, typical 9mm velocity, it has roughly 341 feet-pound, about 462 joules of muzzle energy. What makes RIP extraordinary is its terminal behavior. On impact, the front section of the bullet fragments along the pre-stressed cuts. In a 9mm RIP test, the 8 petals break away and burrow outwards, creating a starburst of shallow wound channels. Meanwhile, the central base slug punches straight through deeper, about 12 inches. The net effect is multiple wounds where one bullet hit, almost like firing 8 fragments in a core all at once. Ballistic tests confirm the design is meant to cause massive trauma in the first 12 inches of tissue. In gel tests, RIP rounds produce a wildly shredded cavity around the entry point. In real-world terms, RIP ammo is marketed as an extreme personal defense round. It'll flatten and ram fragments through whatever it hits. Flesh, clothing, even car windshields, though it suffers on barrier penetration. To an unprotected target at close range, RIP is brutally effective. The trade-off is that it often overexpands in fragments so quickly that it may not penetrate deeply past heavy barriers. It's designed for short-range stopping power, not penetration. For quick specs, a 9mm RIP round, 96 grain, 1,265 feet per second, 341 feet-pound, is engineered to fragment into 8 star petals on impact. Number 2, 577 Tyrannosaur. The 577 Tyrannosaur, often called 577 T-Rex, is a monster rifle cartridge. Developed by A-Square in the 90s for professional African game guides, it was intended to stop rampaging elephants on the charge. The specs are extreme. It fires a 750 grain, about 49 grams bullet of diameter .585 inches, 14.9 millimeters at about 2,460 feet per second, or 750 meters per second. That generates a mind-boggling 10,180 feet-pound of muzzle energy, around 13,800 joules. Put another way, a single shot has the kinetic punch of a light cannon shell. This round uses a solid bullet. In tests, they often use a tough soft point, but it's essentially a huge slug. Upon impact, the momentum transfer is catastrophic. Witnesses say a shot from a 577 T-Rex will punch a hole through bone and fat the size of a man's fist. The recoil is almost unbearable. In a slow-motion video of it firing, you can literally see the shooter's skin ripple with the shock wave. Ballistics are so punishing that shooters sometimes wear body armor just to shoot the rifle. Real-world use of 577 Tyrannosaur is very limited, mainly affluent hunters chasing Africa's Big Five, elephant, rhino, buffalo, etc., or as an anti-material round. Prototype T-Rex rifle was called an anti-tank stopping rifle. One man who fired it on camera said the skin on his back visibly rippled from the recoil. Despite its power, it's not a military round, it's non-standard and A-Square is now defunct. Legally, it's simply classified as hunting ammo, so it's generally allowed. There are no explosive or radioactive elements. Its terror comes purely from brute force. Number 1, depleted uranium and radiological tank rounds. The deadliest ammunition on our list is the depleted uranium DU kinetic penetrator used in modern anti-tank guns. These are not small bullets, but large fixed rounds, e.g. 120 by 570 mm NATO for Abrams Leopard tanks that fire a slender dart of uranium alloy. Depleted uranium is extremely dense, about 1.67 times the density of lead, so each 120 mm round carries around 4 to 5 kilograms of uranium. The exact formulation is about 99.75% U-238 with a tiny bit of titanium or molybdenum. When firing, the DU penetrator flies at enormous speed, over 1,600 meters per second. Upon striking armor, DU has 2 deadly features. It self-sharpens and it ignites. Under impact, the uranium projectile mushrooms but then shears in such a way that a fresh sharp tip is continuously formed. In effect, instead of flattening and blunting like tungsten rounds, a DU penetrator stays needle-like. Studies show DU penetrators have about 20% more armor-piercing ability than equivalent tungsten rounds. The second effect is pyrophoric ignition. As the long U-238 dart drills into metal, the friction and deformation create so much heat that the uranium catches fire. The hot metal shards and gases can explode into a fireball inside the target. Reports note that when a DU penetrator enters a tank, it often ignites ammunition and fuel, or even causes the vehicle to explode. In practice, a DU APF SDS, armor-piercing, fin-stabilized discarding save-it, round can not only punch clean through heavy armor, it sprays burning uranium oxide on the interior. For example, images from Gulf War I show destroyed Iraqi tanks marked DU because they were contaminated after being blown up this way. Modern armies use DU rounds in their main tanks. For instance, U.S. M1 Abrams 120mm cannon and British Challenger 2 tanks fire DU APF SDS rounds. The Soviets and Russians have similar ammo, e.g. 3BM-32 Vant 125mm rounds. During the '91 Gulf War, U.S. forces fired hundreds of thousands of DU rounds at Iraqi armor. Today, Britain is even supplying DU tank shells to Ukraine's Challenger crews. If you enjoyed learning about these wild rounds, be sure to subscribe for more detailed analysis.